All right, guys, here we go. Are you ready to have some fun? Remember, we are experimenting. It's okay if we make a mess. It's okay if it doesn't look as good as your neighbors, because we're going to reflect on it and figure out next class how we get better. And we're going to have a lot of fun, okay? So we're doing wet on wet first. Wet on wet, the directions say dip your brush in some clean water, get that paper nice and wet. Pick up one of the colors from your watercolors and just flood that in. Look at that tie-dye, isn't that pretty? Now, when we're working in watercolor and paint in general, you want to kind of think about warms and cools, right? Warm colors are like fire. If they're next to each other, they're analogous colors, right? So they look good together. Sometimes we make a mess and the colors look like brown. Those are because they're complementary. Maybe you remember that from middle school. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. So as we work, think about the colors you're picking. If they're across from each other on the color wheel, they're going to make brown. Now there's nothing wrong with brown. Okay, but if you don't want brown, talk to me and I'll help you. So wet on wet, you can see that it kind of tie-dyes into each other and moves. Okay, that's really fun. Crayon resist, let's check off wet on wet. Crayon resist means wherever I draw the crayon, the paint will resist it or not go on there. So I take this white crayon, and the key to this, guys, is like really loading it up. Go back and forth a couple of times to put a nice thick layer. If you don't press hard, you're not going to get as good results, which is why we're practicing now. So you'll see how hard that you have to practice to get this cranking out, okay? So this crayon resist, wherever I have put the crayon, it will resist it. Wow, right? That's all I got. I'm an art teacher. That's my magic, okay? So please say it with me. Wow, crayon resist. It's a really fun one. I like that one. Okay, so toothbrush. We're gonna check that guy off. Toothbrush. Now, nobody's used this toothbrush. This wasn't my toothbrush one day. Don't worry, okay? Toothbrush, we're gonna take that toothbrush and we're gonna like kind of dig it in there, but I wanna make sure that there's no drips coming off. Then I'm gonna take my hand, put my thumb there, and face down. You get a beautiful texture. It's so fun. You can layer your texture, you can have as much fun. See, it's going into my crayon resist, overlapping. Isn't that pretty? Okay? And then what you're going to want to do is stick that back in the water and let it dry off for the next person. Toothbrush. Now I am flying through this because my idea is you're just going to pause it when you need to. Okay? Sea salt. Sea salt is pretty much like the salt that you get at home that you put on your table. You can use table salt. Sea salt's just a little bit of chunks that are different. I'm going to put a little water on there. We're going to do a wet on wet. I'm going to add some colors. My colors I'm going to do are analogous, meaning they're next to each other on the wheel. They have a color in common. In this case, it's going to be blue-green, and I know that these are going to look nice together, right? So it's pretty wet because it looks real good when it's wet. Now, sea salt's going to be impressive next class, and a little dab will do you guys, okay? Just a little bit. Next class, you're going to see like little marks around each of the little granules, and we'll push it off, and it'll be a pretty texture. It's a nice texture. Okay, so sea salt. Dry brush. That means you have to dry off your brush. You're going to dry off your brush and dig it in some color, and then maybe tap your brush again just to get it a little drier, all right? And you need to have a drier brush. You can see that beautiful texture that you get. Okay, and if you want to layer colors or create some hatching and cross-hatching, that's up to you. I'm just showing you a quick example so that you get the idea, and then you're going to have a good time, okay? Plastic wrap, so cool. Now, plastic wrap is also a delayed gratification. Next class, you're going to see the wow moments, okay? Next class is so much fun. When I hand these back, you're going to, I mean, I think it's exciting, but I don't get out much, okay? So I think this is really fun. So I'm going to flood in some colors, keeping it kind of wet. Oh, have fun. It's okay if it's messy. Now, I'm going to take just a regular piece of plastic wrap, at home, and I want to kind of like crunch it, get some good texture, and put it down. And you can already kind of see the texture that it leaves. It's super exciting. I love it. I love it. Okay, there's your plastic wrap. Now leave it on there until next time, because next time we'll pull it off. It'll be like magic. Okay? Now, we're going to do, whoops, let's check it off. All right, the blow technique. Now, the blow technique, I hate to use this analogy, but it's something that you're always, it'll stick in your head. You're going to load up your brush with some water, and you want to put like, I hate to say it, but like a pimple, like a big, giant pimple that needs to be popped. It's gross, but you're going to remember. I always hear you guys talking about it when I give you these analogies, okay? So you may think I'm crazy, but that's why you remember, okay? So you want to make these giant bumps. Now, oh, that's a big one for you. Not planned. All right, I highly suggest you take out your gum. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna get really close and go, and you can see how it trails and looks like fireworks. So fun. Blow. But don't forget to take out your gum, okay? All right, here's the next one, alcohol. So you're gonna lay down some color, and just between you and me, with all my experience, the alcohol looks super good on darker colors. Think it's some kind of chemical reaction, and if I knew more about chemistry, I'm sure somebody smart could tell me why. I don't know the real reason, but I just know it looks really cool. All right, so now here's the fun. You're gonna get your rubbing alcohol and a pipette. Pipette works like this. Squeeze it, stick it in, draw it up. Let me do it again. It's empty. Squeeze, stick it in, let it go. You can see it comes up, and then you just put some circles. That's a wow. If you're not saying wow, something's wrong with you. Now, if you got extra, put it back in there for me, okay? Alcohol, so pretty. Isn't that a nice texture? Love alcohol. This kind of alcohol. All right, check that guy off. Now, glue stick. Some glue sticks work better than others, and it's gonna give you a resist, kind of like the crayon did. It probably will also change the color of the water a little bit, the watercolor. And then one thing I've noticed is the Elmer's kind of works differently than those generic Office Depot ones. So you can, like, I've put one on each of your tray. You can try and experiment a little bit and see what happens, all right? But it should, now don't make me a liar, it should act as a resist, and I will tell you that it will change colors later on where you are, okay? This thing makes me look like I'm making this up, but it's true. In about 20 minutes, you'll be able to see my circles much more. Trust me, I'm a professional, okay? Now, what I think really works when we do this on our big background is if you let the glue stick dry. You can see that those circles are starting to form, okay? Come back to it next time. You'll be really wowed, okay? All right, the next, oh, let me check that off. Check it off. I know some of you need to follow this so you don't get lost, okay? So let's do that. Let's do some rice. Everybody loves rice. We have it at our house. Isn't it fun? You could do all this at your house if you had most of these things at your house. And these watercolors are super inexpensive. When we do our actual background next class, we are going to sort through these and figure out which ones are our favorites. We're going to combine our favorites into a giant background that's totally unique and experimental. And then we're going to draw on top of it in a couple classes, which I think is super fun. And if you can't draw, don't worry. You got me. I'm going to teach you some tips. So now the rice, and look, see, I'm not covering it in rice. It's not your last meal. So let's just put a couple of them on there. And next class, you'll see, I bet you know what's going to happen. It's going to soak up the water. Just like when you drop your cell phone in the water, you soak it in rice. The rice is going to absorb and leave like a little halo. Just you wait. Now, what's really fun is you can do like a practice experimental ones. You have 2 sections to do whatever the heck you want. So I say, let's start for my one experiment with wet on wet. All right, and I'm gonna just practice and have my fun. You practice and have your fun. Ooh, love it, love it. See, like some of you are like, oh no. I say, bring it on, bring it on. Okay, so I'm gonna do a mix of things in here, but you're gonna choose whatever it is your favorite, okay? Whatever it is that you like, don't follow me. You use your imagination and do what you think is pretty. But I just happen to be using a little alcohol, a little salt, all right, and maybe on this one, I don't know. Anyway, you have fun on this one. You had some fun. This looks like king cake. Did you ever eat king cake from Mardi Gras? If you haven't, you haven't lived. Anyway, I got my experiment. You go have fun. If you want, reverse the video, reteach yourself. I, of course, will come around and help all of you. But our objective is to try all different 12 experiments for the rest of class. Okay? Good luck and have fun. It doesn't care. Look at how messy mine is. Let's just have some fun.